From CBS News Bay Area, this is the Morning Edition.
A South Bay congresswoman is the latest to publicly call on President Biden to drop out of the presidential race.
As the days have gone by, more and more data points to a very bad outcome.
But if he were to drop out, the question remains, who can take on a newly re-energized Republican Party? A California political science expert weighs in this morning. Plus, San Jose is taking a creative approach to the housing crisis, the first of its kind law that just took effect. And we continue to follow the aftermath of that global tech outage, which still is causing problems at local airports and elsewhere in the Bay Area. Plus,
taking a live look out over Mount Diablo. It's beautiful. The sunrise is gorgeous. Look at the colors. And it is not going to be nearly as hot today. I'll break down the details on what this weekend is going to look like coming up.
Good morning, and thanks for starting your day with us. Today is Saturday, July 20th. Saturday, oh my goodness. Saturday, July 20th. I'm Max Darrow. Calabunga in San Jose really was the place to be on Friday. Saw a lot of families out there enjoying the lazy river and really just having a lot of fun at the Bay Area's newest water park. It was a hot one on Friday, but relief is on the way. So let's bring in First Alert meteorologist Zoe Mintz with the details. And Zoe, what a start to the morning. Not as good as the folks there at Calabunga Bay. By the way, we used to go there. It was raging waters back in the day.
Oh.
And it was like the summer trip that every kid looked forward to.
Oh, that sounds like so much fun. And today you might want to cool off, but it's not going to be necessary for your Saturday, Max. We're going to be seeing a lot more comfortable conditions that are going to continue to bring us some nice heat as we step out today, tomorrow. Comfortable heat is going to be the name of the game today. But early this morning, look at the sunrise. Look at a little bit of fog that is still holding strong in the distance, but it's really not going to be too impactful throughout this afternoon. It's really going to be our inland areas that once again are going to see that potential for a bit more heat to build. But early this morning, again, we are going to be seeing the 7-day forecast showing you again the heat is not going to stick around, or the heat is going to stick around for a little bit longer. So that's something that you're going to have to keep your eyes on. We'll be in the low 90s today. We'll be in the upper 80s by Sunday afternoon. It's early next week, though, that the heat again once going to build. Triple-digit high temperatures are in the forecast for Monday, and we are expecting to stay in the mid to upper 90s by Tuesday, Wednesday, and into Thursday before that onshore flow arrives by late next week. So again, it really depends on where you are, how warm it's going to be. This weekend, though, is going to be a lot more comfortable than what we felt yesterday. It's going to be a lot more comfortable than what we're expecting by early this upcoming week. Again, this weekend, get out, enjoy yourself. Temperatures in our Bay Area communities, mid-70s. That's going to be really nice. It's not going to be anything too oppressive. You're not going to have to crank up your air conditioner. You might even have to open your window. By early next week, though, upper 70s to near 80 degrees. This is kind of the level that it does get a little bit too hot, especially if you don't have any air conditioning. Luckily, though, Friday of next week, I know this is very far in the future, we'll be back down into the upper 80s. So kind of riding that roller coaster of weather as we step out into the next week. But this weekend, honestly, is going to be really lovely. Max, back to you.
All righty, Zoe. It is going to be a lovely one out there. However, there will be some dry winds that are expected this weekend in parts of the Bay Area. And so PG&E is warning that they might cut power to 16,000 customers in 7 counties. Planned outages would start at about 11 o'clock this morning to reduce the risk of wildfires. Here in the Bay Area, about 500 customers in total in Contra Costa and Alameda counties could have their power shut off. And with wildfire concerns at the forefront, a new law did just take effect in South Lake Tahoe. It bans plants, dry vegetation, and other flammable items within 5 feet of homes. It's an effort to create more defensible space. South Lake Tahoe is the first city to implement these rules. This comes in response to a state law that requires new defensible space standards in California's most fire-prone areas. The state is still working out some of the details of the 5-foot rule and when it will be required more broadly. Let's give you a live look at San Jose this morning. To the South Bay we go on a Saturday morning because this city has become the first California city to allow owners to sell their accessory dwelling units, or ADUs, separate from their homes. City leaders are touting this new ordinance as a way to open the door to affordable home ownership. They're urging other cities to follow San Jose's lead. The number of ADUs has surged in recent years due to several state laws making them easier to build in an effort to ease the housing crisis.
This will create a stock of naturally affordable housing and open the door to home ownership for so many people. This work has allowed us to build over 1,400 new ADUs over the past 5 years, with thousands more in the pipeline.
The bill allows ADUs to be sold as individual units, similar to how condos are sold. President Biden says he is ready to get back on the campaign trail as he recovers from COVID. Even though more than 30 Democrats in Congress are now calling for him to step aside, the president says he is not going anywhere. Meantime, former President Donald Trump and running mate J.D. Vance hit the battleground state of Michigan on Saturday. It's the first rally since the attempted assassination of former President Trump, and the first time we're going to see the official Republican ticket rally together. CBS's Bradley Blackburn joins us live this morning with the latest on the campaign trail. Bradley, good morning.
Max, good morning. The pressure for President Biden keeps building. Yesterday, even, a Biden campaign official acknowledged in a memo that the campaign, quote, has our work cut out for us to win in November. But the president is again signaling he's not dropping out. While he remains in his Delaware beach house recovering from COVID, President Biden says he's not staying there for long. In his statement Friday, he said, "I look forward to getting back on the campaign trail next week." It's a sign he's digging in, even as more Democrats try to drive him out of the race for re-election. Concerned he can't beat former President Trump and could drag down other candidates. More than 30 congressional Democrats are now calling for Biden to drop out. The pressure campaign even extending to TV.
Pass the torch, Joe.
Pass the torch.
Longtime allies suggest the president is now considering the question.
I think our president is weighing what he should weigh, which is who is the best candidate to win in November.
But the Biden campaign insists he can win.
We have multiple pathways to victory, and we can do that by really reaching these voters.
Vice President Harris continues to campaign, but there's the question of what would happen if President Biden dropped out. Some Democrats are calling for an open convention to settle on a new candidate. Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez called that idea crazy.
They are interested in removing the whole ticket.
Meanwhile, former President Trump and his new running mate J.D. Vance are set to hold a rally Saturday in the key state of Michigan. Some supporters already lining up Friday night.
We'll be here for a good seat tomorrow.
The rally will be held inside an arena 1 week after the assassination attempt against former President Trump. And there's no word yet on where President Biden would be campaigning next week. Democratic Party leaders, by the way, have settled on a plan to formally nominate him in a virtual roll call vote in early August. And Max, the Democratic convention is still a month away.
Bradley, what are the polls looking like right now?
Yeah, a CBS News poll released this week showed President Biden falling further behind former President Trump, 47 to 52. And that gap, Max, has widened since the beginning of the month, with Biden dropping a point and Trump gaining 2 points. And former President Trump also leads when you break it down to likely voters in battleground states. In that case, he leads 51 to 48. So, Max, these are exactly the kind of numbers and possible trends that are making Democrats so anxious.
We'll be keeping a close eye on it. Bradley Blackburn live for us in New York this morning. Appreciate your reporting. And coming up at 6:30 this morning, we'll talk more about the race for the White House in a live interview with a college professor who specializes in the presidency and the media. Well, switching gears now to that glitch everybody has seen. It may have been fixed by now, but the ripple effects of a global tech outage is still being felt worldwide. The most visible impact was at airports. In the U.S. alone, 2,400 flights were canceled due to communication problems. Let's give you a live look at SFO on this Saturday morning. A foggy start to the day there. More than 100 flights were canceled on Friday and hundreds more were delayed. Perhaps you got stuck in some of the mess there. Yesterday morning, United, Delta, and American Airlines all called for a ground stop. And just after noon, we saw long lines at the check-in for Delta stretching back through the terminal. Many passengers, the disruptions meant altered flight plans, trips upended. For others, some of whom arrived Thursday night when the outage was just beginning, it meant sleeping at the airport.
Our flight was supposed to leave about 11:30. Got word that it was pushed back. Finally, they canceled it around 3 o'clock.
And you slept at the airport?
Absolutely. Not the first time I've slept at an airport.
It is not a comfortable thing to do. The effects were somewhat lighter at the other Bay Area airports, SJC and San Francisco Bay, Oakland International, with only a handful of delays reported at those two airports. Hospitals also were affected here in the Bay Area. Kaiser confirmed to us that it activated its backup systems to make sure it could continue to take care of patients and access patient records.
This is going to be a day that demands our patience as our nation navigates this tech outage. So our team, like I said, they've been working all throughout the night, not only here in the building to get everything up and running again, but also we have a crew out at the airports to track your experience. And Veronica.
So that was a snippet from our morning show yesterday. A lot of media outlets had trouble getting on the air, including our own team. And you know, it is a big deal when Times Square in New York City goes dark. A lot of the bright billboards either went totally blank or showed a lot of jumbled messages. So this might be minor, but it certainly had a lot of people cranky. The outage knocked out the mobile order feature at Starbucks stores across the country, too. Shops either had to close or people actually had to wait in line. Think about that. Well, this was not caused by a cyber attack, but instead by a flawed software update from the cybersecurity company CrowdStrike, which then knocked down systems that were operating on Microsoft platforms. As our Wilson Walker shows us, the situation really does highlight some of the vulnerabilities of our tech infrastructure.
It's got a ping pong playing robot, for example. We want to beat the varsity team with our...
Table tennis playing robots, one of the more fun elements of Professor Shankar Sastri's lab at UC Berkeley. Of course, the big topic of conversation here today, the very not fun consequences of the CrowdStrike update that affected everything from airlines to healthcare systems.
And what struck me is, you know, how brittle it was, how brittle our systems were. Because in the broader scheme of things, we ought to have been able to isolate and to some extent even compartmentalize the damage. But the damage really, you know, spread across the world.
He says mistakes do happen, and that is the reason for sandboxing or testing software in a contained environment, especially something used on this scale.
But having a misconfiguration which has not been caught, it was really mind-boggling to me.
Didn't you apply that upgrade on any Windows machine before sending it to all around the world?
Cal State East Bay professor Levent Artal, equally surprised.
Yes, sir. Yeah, and then there is a wow factor. Okay, so this shows us that how our computing systems right now, as of today in the world, interconnected and complex, and it is vulnerable. That's very important. It is vulnerable to a mistake.
It's a vulnerability embedded in the very systems we depend on and often take for granted until they fail.
And that is our lives, unfortunately. We will see these things more in the future because things are getting more complex and things are getting more interconnected.
The number of incidents will go up. The severity of the incident is really what we need to think about.
Sastry says today's crash is a sign that we have prioritized speed and convenience at the expense of resilience, and that may need to change.
You know, but this really was, on that scale, truly a wake-up call for us.
CrowdStrike provides cybersecurity software that is used all over the world by companies, government agencies, and many other organizations. In all, the Austin, Texas-based company said that it has 29,000 subscribing customers. The company has partnerships with both Amazon and Microsoft. On Friday, CrowdStrike's CEO apologized for the mistake, saying the company takes full responsibility. The time is 6:15 on this Saturday morning. Up next, some Bay Area kids getting a helping hand during a really tough time in their lives. Take you to Friday's event that uplifted families and volunteers alike. And a lake in South America seems to have quite the singing voice. We'll take a listen and explain what appears to be causing this interesting phenomenon. Zoe.
And taking a live look over the Bay Bridge, what a beautiful sight. The sun is rising, gorgeous colors in the sky, thanks to a little bit of haze. I'll break down the details on how long that haze will stick around and the winds that will arrive this afternoon coming up.